Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McCusick, and we're back for the offense episode of matchups for this game, upcoming, very important divisional game against the Bengals. Joining me to do that, as always, is co-host Frazier Tafar. Frazier, how are you doing?
Doing good, Ken. Glad to be back for the offensive show. Had a really good defensive matchup show, talking about some really good pass rush ideas of what the Ravens should do, bringing up sim pressures on how we can get to Burrow, and also how our corners are going to be crucial against our receivers.
Yeah, definitely. One of the topics that keeps recurring in most of the shows this week, frankly, is how much risk should the Ravens embrace defensively in order to try and counter Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had his way with the Ravens in that first game. They finally did send the blitz on him a number of times on that final drive and at least manufactured another chance for themselves when Burrow threw the touchdown pass when it's against the Browns. So when Winston threw the touchdown pass to Tillman to give the Ravens another shot with a minute or so to go. But this is a game where Burrow, I think more pressure, more risk is needed in a neutral game script. And we talked about that at length. So I'll just ask people to go back and take a look at that. Well, let's talk about the offense now. And Frazier, why don't you start us off?
Yep. First matchup for today is Ravens pass protection versus the Bengals pass rush. Cincinnati has had above middle of the pack pass rush this year, led by Trey Hendrickson. He's leading the league in sacks this year. So far, for the past couple weeks, the Ravens have had decent pass rush output. Pass blocking output for the team as a whole. We had a fall off the wall game in Cleveland against the Browns, but good step up in the right direction last week against Denver.
I'm just going to say I don't really think that was a step forward at all. They gave away a bunch of ATS in that game. And it's interesting. They had 4 sacks in the game, which you look at as good, but all 4 of those sacks came after giving up ample time and space. So he gave up a 3-second pocket on all 4 of their sacks and just happened to get a late sack each of those times. One of the reasons I want to see, risk is that the Ravens have just been doing a piss poor job of getting to the quarterback here.
Fair.
We are talking about on the defensive side, what the observation you were just making, right?
Meaning the Bengals defense?
No, I may have talked out of turn here, but please continue with your.
It's all good. All good. But yeah, just making sure that like guys like McCary and Falele are able to hold their own inside interior. Linderbaum has had some issues with rush this year, but continuing to build off that and making sure we can keep Lamar clean again is definitely a key in this game.
All right, completely agree. I still imagining what we're talking about the defense here, but we're not. We're talking about the offense. This last week they gave Lamar 15% ample time and space. They got to do better than that. Yep. They give his opportunity set was terrible, and he still sprinkled some Lamar dust on it and made it into just a ridiculous performance. Yep. By outperforming his expectation per play by about 7.4 yards. So that's just an absurd amount to outperform your expectation by, but that's what happens when you have 13.5 yards per throw in a game or per pass play in a game. I'll move on. I'll talk about Jackson versus the Bengals blitz and simulated pressure, which is a little bit different in terms of the individual pass rushers. I am expecting numbers at the line of scrimmage again from the Bengals. I think the Bengals have kind of decided they need to stop the run first and they need to threaten Jackson. And that combination is their best choice of multiple evils. And yes, Jackson ripped him a new one in terms of a lot of throws down the field, a lot of man coverage that was beaten by his receivers. But I think they're going to say you have to do it again because I don't think they want to have to face Derrick Henry. I think that's the other thing. If they try and stop the run in nickel, or even if they play a little heavier than that, I think it makes it more tough for them. So we'll see that. And that means that Jackson really has to identify the numbers at the line of scrimmage. He has to identify and hit the hot reads as necessary. So you see a linebacker coming up and you know who he's supposed to be covering, get that ball out quickly to the player that can impact that. Sometimes that's going to be the slot receiver because of the placement of players around the line of scrimmage, and sometimes it's going to be a running back who gets out there a little quicker than that inside linebacker who may be stuck in an A gap somewhere trying to drop out, as we've seen with Roquan this year. The responsibility, this is important. The responsibility is also on the receiver.
Yes.
When they see a bunch of people at the line of scrimmage, that receiver's got to look back for the football. He's got to know when he's got to be ready to catch that ball, and know that, hey, if I'm hot, I'm not running my normal route necessarily. My route has to convert to a slant or whatever it might be. And then Jackson also, this is very important, probably for his own growth, that he really needs to have full freedom. And I think he does, because you see him moving around players, specifically from left or right of him a lot of times. But he really needs to have freedom to reassign the eligibles to block as needed.
Yep.
So make full use of that in a game like this. They're going to try all sorts of things in the same way that a linebacker has a green dog situation for blitzing, means he has to wait to see if his receiver comes out or is staying in a block and or decide whether he blitzes or not. The eligible receiver can do the same thing in terms of getting out a little late, making himself available as an outlet, or running a delayed route that might have value with a player like Jackson, where a lot of routes become extended. So lots of options for the Ravens to get it done, but they need to figure out what the Bengals are presenting to them and not cave in and allow a lot of very quick pressures against Jackson. And I think, honestly, he's in a more vulnerable state right now in terms of how he is health-wise. I mean, he's obviously missing a lot of practices. It's scary back and knee combination. We didn't see him do a lot of running in this last game. He didn't look quite as mobile to me running around the pocket, even though he's unbelievably great and accurate as a passer. I didn't feel like he was quite as quick moving around the pocket. So a big day for Jackson against the Bengals blitz and sim pressure looks.
Yeah, and I think the easiest way to beat pressure and blitz is being on schedule. Last week, Lamar was on schedule. That's why he had perfect passer rating. I mean, three strap drop, gets to his hitch, let it out. I mean, utilizing the guys like Bateman, Aguilar, and all those guys, just getting them in space, understanding where it's at, and hitting the hole. I mean, I get giddy when I see this guy just doing what everyone says he can't do. I mean, making the quick reads, making the change to the line of scrimmage. Lamar has took it to a next level, and I'm just glad he's our quarterback right now.
He's very fun to watch, that's for sure. One of the things I really loved came on 2 extended plays, where in each case he was kind of flushed out of the pocket. He did so in a very deft way to move out of the pocket. It's kind of like an up and out to the right in both cases. Right. Moved over to the right sideline, let himself get chased all the way to the sideline, finally threw the ball away. And on 2 separate plays, he had a defensive holding got drawn during that time he was running the sideline.
Yep. And those plays can be a common occurrence, especially trying to cover guys like Zay Flowers and Deontay Johnson, who can get loose. I mean, Bateman as well, who's shifty at the top of the route. The ball's not on time. They got to be able to keep up with him. So I'm loving it. I think he's using his IQ even more, if that's even possible. I mean, he's using as much capacity as he can, but he's taking it to a new level. So it's great to see that. On to my next point, I have the Ravens vertical passing game versus the Bengals back end. We have...
This holiday season, find the perfect gift and spark something special with Uncommon Goods. No need to stress. Uncommon Goods makes shopping easy with hand-picked, unique gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Think gifts that bring out the smiles, the laughter, and that, yes, it's exactly what I wanted moment. They scour the globe for one-of-a-kind, handmade, remarkable items, and they always seem to know the perfect gift. I got these Camden Yards drinking glasses on it that have a nice etch of Oriole Park and the skyline around it. Check out their new officially licensed NFL collection for you Raven fans. When you shop Uncommon Goods, you're supporting small businesses and independent artists. Many of the products are made in small batches, so make sure to get yours before they sell out. With meaningful gifts from personalized items to special finds for kids, sports fans, and book lovers, Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. Plus, for every purchase, they donate $1 to a nonprofit. Over $3 million donated so far. To get your 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/ravens. That's uncommongoods.com/ravens for 15% off. Hurry, this deal won't last. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Really established us as being a horizontal passing team in terms of screens and quick throws. This game is another opportunity to build off our deep pass threats. First game against the Bengals, obviously we showed out that we can hit the home run ball when we need to. We can get down the field when we need to. I think this game is going to be more of an emphasis of getting the vertical passing game going with Zay Flowers, utilizing him more in the slot now that we have Deontay Johnson to take on that. I'm not going to say one, but gadget as well, because we usually try and get the X or the Y receiver on the outside to go in motion, leaving Zay able to just operate as a true natural one wide receiver. I'm excited to see what the Ravens have for this week.
Yeah, if you look at the last Cincinnati game, Zay Flowers, his ADOT was good in that game. It was 10.7, but then he had two games after it where he's 5.2 and -2 on his active. And then he recovered and had 17.3 and 11.3 the last 2 weeks. I think the 17.3 and 11.3, probably more like about 11, is going to be the standard for the rest of the year. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to make catches between 10 and 19 yards. He's been almost perfect in terms of passer rating in that range, had 20 targets and caught 16 of them already. He's been good even on contested throws. He's good catching it outside the frame, and he's great after the catch. Amazingly, he's only had 2 touchdowns on throws at that level. And given the escapability we saw on Sunday on the 53-yard touchdown, it's amazing that it's only been 2. So he's
I don't even know how he scored on that.
Yeah, it was incredible, wasn't it? It's just,
I don't know. He, out of nowhere, he just gets out of the box. I'm just like, this guy is something else.
Yeah,
I'm thinking he has to get out of bounds, but
yeah, there've been a couple this year like that. The Isaiah Likely had a touchdown also that I think it was against the Chiefs in week 1, where he ran down the sidelines. It just didn't look like there's any chance he would score, and all of a sudden he's by everybody, and you're wondering how he did it. And you're also wondering why the hell were we concerned about his 40 time ever run on that funny track. But anyway, let's in terms of the vertical threats, I think the acquisition of Deontay Johnson is going to help Flowers, and the activation of Keaton Mitchell, if it comes this week, should really help Flowers as well in terms of getting him more downfield opportunities. And that kind of dovetails into what my second point is, that the Ravens' misdirection, I think, is what they need to beat the Bengals with. So it's the Ravens' misdirection versus the Bengals' defensive discipline. The Bengals are a perfectly okay tackling team, even though they got Geno Stone on the back end who can make a miss every once in a while. They've got other guys up front who are good, like Wilson, and their defensive line's not a great tackling unit, but they've got decent tacklers anyway. Otherwise, all over the field. The Ravens are a brutal physical team that can force you to miss tackles that way. They're also a very shifty athletic team, whether you're talking about Likely or Flowers or Bateman, who can make you miss tackles that way. So they've got a lot of ways to make that work, but I don't think that's the Ravens' best weapon this week. I think their best weapon is going to be misdirection. And the more the Ravens run their misdirection versus these compressed looks that the Cincinnati gives them, the better their chance to break those up, force some defenders to make bad choices, and then and this is where it comes back to Jackson again, let Jackson make the correct reads to beat those movements. So he has to make pre and post snap reads, determine where the Ravens can win, and they leverage those positional advantages as they come up on the field, whether that means a hot read, a handoff on a read option, or a play action pass. It could be multiple things, but they've got to. Jackson is eventually responsible for everything coming through his funnel, and I think Mitchell and Johnson are 2 of the players that I hope can really help free up Flowers for the game. We've really always helped to have. Doesn't mean they never use Flowers in that role. Zay Flowers is a weapon on a screen pass too. It's just he's an unbelievable and irreplaceable weapon getting down the field, where he can really help you manipulate the defensive backs. So I think you want to use him there if you can use him there.
Yep. And I think with the misdirection, I think they're anticipating, like every team so far, just the Bengals are going to stack the box. I think they're going to throw them out of the stack box to begin the game like they've been doing recently. But with the vertical the horizontal misdirection going across the field and even orbit motion, where like we could have Keaton Mitchell half orbit and then go back out on the RPO pull read, just small stuff like that. I think continuing to try and force the defense to get numbers on the outside rather than inside the box is mainly how we can get our number one threat, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, going, instead of just having to rely on the pass, which has worked, but you would like to try to lean on your bread and butter a little more.
All right. Now, I've seen different theories on whether or not Keaton Mitchell is going to be actually activated this week. Where are you on whether that's likely to happen? They will have to move a player off the roster, either cut or perhaps an IR. Maybe Rasheen Ali would be a good candidate for that if Mitchell is back. But they'll have to make some sort of a move to make room for him. Do you think they do it this week, or do you think they wait a week and have him show up against Pittsburgh?
If you ask me, I think if the decision up to me, I would say wait till Pittsburgh. I think that's what the Ravens will probably do. I know that they cut Collier today, probably for Tre'Davious White, but I guess Ali would be the next guy. Yeah, I don't see any reason to rush it. Short week. If this was a Sunday game, maybe, but it's short week, and I think next week against the Steelers with an extra 3 days rest, it's definitely going to be great.
Yeah, Mitchell hasn't played in 11 months, so he's not on a short week. he's
right.
He's on a long time off, and then he would have a long time to rest. So I look at these as both being critical division games. I mean, they have got to win these two games coming up. And I, for that reason, I would activate him right now and get him running some of the things that he was so impressive with last year, plus some more probably passing concepts this year that he wasn't used for as much. So I'm excited to get him back in the lineup, and I hope they will this week. And if not, great, see him in Pittsburgh, but see him versus Pittsburgh. But anyway,
I'm excited to see him run those like the rail route or the wheel route that Justin ran last week.
Sure.
If he runs those, he's gone. So
yeah, he's every bit as fast as Justice Hill is, and then some. He was certainly faster before the injury last year. We don't really know right now exactly where he stands, but hopefully he's still got some juice and some wiggle and some ability to make that single cut that leaves somebody in the dirt, and some of that contact balance he had that we really didn't expect as a rookie. At least I didn't expect him nearly to have the ability to withstand a hit and keep his feet that he showed last year. All right. Always a pleasure to talk football with you, Frazier. Tell folks where they can talk football with you online.
You guys can reach me at Twitter/X at F_Rave8. That's F_RAVE8.
All right. Other folks out there, if you'd like to be on a film study short, hit me up. DMs are always open on Twitter. Always looking for new content, particularly with the bye week, not the bye week, the half bye coming up. An opportunity to record a couple shorts here. So please, if you'll give me your idea, I'll talk to you about it. We'll massage it into a good show idea. For Frazier Tafari, this is Ken McCusick saying good night, and we'll talk to you next week on Matchups.